In the world of hypercars, records are made to be broken. But what happens when one machine storms in, not to break a record or two, but to obliterate them all in a single, earth-shaking day? This is the Rimac Nevera R. And it just shattered 24 world records in one epic run. The air was still that morning. The track stretched out under the rising sun, a ribbon of tarmac just waiting to be conquered. The world's media gathered, cameras ready, knowing they were about to witness something historic. But no one, absolutely no one, was ready for what was about to happen. Standing in the pit lane was the all-electric beast from Croatia, the Rimac Nevera R. A car born from obsession, engineered with one purpose: to prove that the future of speed doesn't need gasoline-only perfection. Under its carbon fiber skin lurks a quad-motor setup, each wheel powered independently, each motor delivering instant torque. Together, they unleash a staggering 1,914 horsepower. That's not just fast, it's otherworldly. The driver straps in. Silence. Then a whisper of an electric hum. No roar of a combustion engine, no revving to announce its fury. Just the eerie quiet of something about to rewrite history. The signal drops. In less than 2 seconds, the Nevera R rockets forward. The tires claw at the asphalt, the G-forces slam the driver back, and the scenery turns into a blur. The numbers on the timing equipment flash 0 to 60 miles per hour in 1.74 seconds. First record, gone. But this was just the beginning. 0 to 100 miles per hour? Done. 0 to 186 miles per hour? Faster than most cars hit 60. The quarter mile? A blistering 8.25 seconds quicker than a Bugatti Chiron, quicker than a Formula One car off the line. The crew keeps resetting the start. Again and again, the Nevera R launches like a bullet. Standing kilometer. Standing mile. 0 to 200 kilometers per hour. 0 to 300 kilometers per hour. Each attempt ends the same way, another record falls. But perhaps the most shocking moment wasn't just the acceleration. It was the deceleration. The Nevera R didn't just dominate the sprint, it destroyed the braking records too. From 100 to 0 kilometers per hour, it stopped in just 29.12 meters. That's shorter than the length of a tennis court. By the end of the day, the scoreboard looked unreal. 24 world performance records. All claimed. All in one day. Rimac didn't just set new benchmarks. They moved the goalposts so far ahead that other hypercar manufacturers will be chasing them for years. The message was clear: the future of speed is here, and it's silent, electric, and terrifyingly fast. The Rimac Nevera R isn't just a car, it's a declaration of war on the limits of physics. A machine that proves the most powerful sound on a racetrack is the one you don't hear. And now, the question isn't can anyone catch it? It's who dares to try? The crowd at the track was silent for a moment, not because they weren't impressed, but because they were trying to process what they had just seen. This wasn't a car testing limits. This was a car redefining them. Journalists rushed to the timing boards. Numbers were checked, rechecked, verified by officials. And every single time, the result came back the same: another world record. Acceleration? Unmatched. Braking? Unreal. Full throttle stability at 250 miles per hour? Like riding on rails. To put it in perspective, the Rimac Nevera R can go from 0 to 249 miles per hour, and back to 0, in just 29.93 seconds. That's acceleration and braking combined, in less time than it takes to read this sentence. The engineering behind it borders on science fiction. A 120 kilowatt-hour battery pack, feeding current so rapidly it feels like it's bending the laws of energy transfer. A low, aerodynamic body sculpted not just for beauty, but to slice through the air with minimal drag. Torque vectoring so precise, the car dances through corners as if the driver's thoughts are directly connected to the wheels. And yet, there's something almost poetic about the way it moves. No screaming exhaust. No mechanical violence. Just a smooth, unstoppable surge, the sound of wind, the hiss of tires, and the knowledge that you're sitting in the future. For years, people said electric cars could never replace the drama, the emotion, the excitement of gasoline-powered hypercars. That they'd be sterile, boring, lacking soul. The Rimac Nevera R just proved them wrong. Very, very wrong. Because here's the truth. When you're pinned to your seat by almost 2,000 horsepower, when you're watching the speedometer climb faster than your brain can keep up, when you realize you've just beaten a speed record that stood for decades, you don't miss the noise. You're too busy trying to remember how to breathe. This wasn't just a good day for Rimac. This was a statement to every carmaker on the planet. If you're not chasing the future, you're already behind. The Nevera R now sits in a class of its own. The question is no longer whether electric hypercars can compete. The question is, can anyone compete with Rimac? And as the sun set on that historic track, the car rolled silently back into the pit lane. No smoke, no smell of gasoline, just the faint crackle of cooling motors and the sound of people trying to find words big enough to match what they'd witnessed. One thing is certain. The next time someone says fastest car in the world, they won't be talking about something with a fuel tank. The numbers alone were mind-bending. 24 world records. Some of them shattered by margins so large, they made the old benchmarks look slow. For decades, names like Bugatti, Koenigsegg, and McLaren had ruled the performance charts. These were titans of speed, armed with monstrous engines, engineering wizardry, and the kind of budgets that could buy small countries. And yet, on this single day, a silent Croatian creation came and tore their crowns away one by one. The 0 to 100 km/h sprint? Gone. The 0 to 300 km/h charge? Destroyed. The standing quarter mile? Obliterated. It wasn't just that the Nevera R beat the previous records, it crushed them with the kind of confidence that made everyone watching wonder, have we reached the final form of speed? But here's the thing about records, they're not just numbers. They are symbols. And the Nevera R didn't just take the records, it took the symbolism of the combustion age and rewrote it in electric ink. The driver, still catching his breath, stepped out of the cockpit. There was no celebratory burnout, no ear-splitting reverend. Just a satisfied smile and a glance at the sleek, low-slung shape of the Nevera R, as if to say, we did it. For Rimac Automobili, this wasn't just about bragging rights. This was the culmination of a dream that began in a small garage in Croatia, where mate Rimac himself refused to accept the idea that electric cars had to be slow, boring, or limited. This moment was proof that vision, engineering, and pure determination can turn an idea into the fastest accelerating, fastest stopping, and most complete performance car the world has ever seen. The competitors will study the data. They'll examine the aerodynamics, the battery cooling systems, the motor outputs. They'll try to replicate the magic. But here's the truth. The Nevera R isn't just numbers on a spec sheet. It's a philosophy. It's the relentless pursuit of perfection, the kind of obsession that keeps engineers awake at night chasing milliseconds. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it feels less like a car and more like an event. An era-defining event. Because from this day forward, every conversation about performance cars will have to include these words, Rimac Nevera R. And every challenger will have to answer the same question. Are you fast enough to take on the king? As the cameras powered down and the crew began packing away their equipment, the track fell silent again. But it wasn't the same silence as before. This time, it was charged. The kind of silence that follows an event you know will be talked about for years. The Rimac Nevera R sat motionless in the fading light, its carbon fiber curves reflecting the gold of the setting sun. It didn't need to gloat. It didn't need to roar. The scoreboard told the story, and the story was unstoppable. 24 world records. In a single day. A feat no other car in history had achieved. Some will try to downplay it. They'll say, it's just because it's electric. Others will argue that the real test is in endurance, in long-distance runs, in sustained speed over hours. But deep down, everyone knows what they saw, and it was something historic. Because the Nevera R isn't just the fastest at the moment. It's a signpost pointing to where the future of performance is headed. It's proof that we're entering a new golden age, one not powered by gasoline fumes, but by electrons, software, and sheer engineering brilliance. Somewhere, in boardrooms and design labs across the world, rival engineers will be watching this footage, scribbling ideas, and whispering to themselves, we have to beat this. But until that day comes, the crown belongs to Croatia. To the company that refused to listen to the skeptics. To the car that proved silence can be louder than thunder. The Rimac Nevera R isn't just a machine. It's a message. The future is here. It's faster than you imagined. And it's already left you behind. So the next time you hear someone say, they just don't make cars like they used to, show them this. Because after today they'll never say it again. In the days following the run, the automotive world lit up. Social media feeds were flooded with clips of the Nevera R blasting down the track. The timing boards, flashing record after record, went viral within hours. Car forums exploded with debates. Was this the final nail in the coffin for combustion hypercars? Could Bugatti, Koenigsegg, or Pagani even respond? Or had Rimac just jumped so far ahead that the game itself had changed? Motorsport journalists called it the most important performance day in the 21st century. Electric vehicle advocates called it proof we've only just scratched the surface. And even die-hard petrolheads were forced to admit this wasn't just fast. This was something else. But beyond the hype, beyond the headlines, there was something deeper happening. The Nevera R's achievement wasn't only about technology. It was about belief. Because a decade ago, Rimac was a name nobody outside of a small circle of enthusiasts had heard of. A tiny company in Croatia, competing against giants with decades of history and billions in resources. Everyone thought they'd fail. Yet here they were not only competing with the greats, but leaving them in the dust. It sent a message to every small engineering team, every startup, every dreamer tinkering in a garage. The size of your company doesn't determine the size of your impact. Vision does. Relentlessness does. Refusing to accept limits does. And as other manufacturers began to respond, announcing their next-generation electric hypercars, one thing became clear. The Nevera R had just lit a fire under the industry. From this point forward, the battle for speed wouldn't just be about engines. It would be about software precision, battery innovation, aerodynamic breakthroughs, and a willingness to throw away the old rulebook and write a new one line by line. Mate Rimac himself summed it up best. We didn't build this car to prove EVs can be as good as combustion cars. We built it to show they can be better. Better and faster. The future of hypercars had just arrived, and it didn't roll in quietly. It stormed in, broke 24 records, and left the world gasping. 5 years from now, 10 years from now. When people talk about the greatest automotive moments of the 21st century, this day will be one of them. Not because it was the first electric hypercar to break records, but because of how it did it. In one run. One car. 24 world records. It will be remembered the way motorsport legends are remembered, like Ayrton Senna's qualifying laps, Michael Schumacher's dominance, or the first time the Bugatti Veyron cracked 400 km/h. Except this wasn't on a Formula One circuit, and it didn't come from a billion-dollar brand. It came from a company that started in a small workshop in Croatia. The Nevera R will be spoken about in hushed tones by future engineers and designers the moment they realized the ceiling was higher than they thought, that performance had an entirely new dimension waiting to be unlocked. Collectors will guard these cars like treasures. One will show up at an auction decades from now, and the bidding will skyrocket, not just because it's rare, but because it's the car that changed the conversation. And the ripple effect will be undeniable. Somewhere, right now, a young kid who just saw the Nevera R clip for the first time is sketching their dream car, thinking, if they can do it, maybe I can too. That's the power of moments like this. They don't just break records. They inspire revolutions. The combustion era gave us legends: Ferrari F40, McLaren F1, Lamborghini Miura, Porsche 959. The electric era now has its own. And its name is the Rimac Nevera R. Because in the end, this wasn't just about speed. It was about rewriting the definition of possible. And that, more than the 0 to 60 times, more than the quarter-mile runs, more than any headline, is why this car will be remembered as the machine that didn't just chase history. It became it. In a world obsessed with speed, one car just rewrote the rulebook. Not one record. Not two. 24, in a single day. The Rimac Nevera R stepped onto the track with quiet confidence, its carbon fiber silhouette glinting under the rising sun. No one knew they were about to witness history. The morning air was still. The crowd held its breath as the driver strapped in. There was no engine roar, no revving to announce its fury, just the low hum of electric motors, waiting to unleash nearly 2,000 horsepower. The signal dropped, and in less than 2 seconds the Nevera R rocketed forward, slamming the driver into the seat as the scenery blurred. 0 to 60 in 1.74 seconds. First record gone. From that moment, it was a relentless assault. 0 to 100, 0 to 186, the quarter mile in just over 8 seconds, faster than a Formula One car's launch. The standing kilometer, the standing mile, every acceleration target fell like dominoes. Even braking records were smashed, 100 to 0 in 29.12 meters, stopping in less distance than a tennis court. The scoreboard filled with numbers so shocking they had to be verified again and again. Each confirmation was another blow to the competition. Bugatti, Koenigsegg, McLaren, names that had ruled the charts for years, were now chasing a silent Croatian creation that had left them in the dust. The engineering was as extreme as the results. Quad motors, torque vectoring so precise it felt like thought control, a 120 kilowatt-hour battery delivering power instantly, and aerodynamics honed for both stability and blistering speed. There was no screaming exhaust, just the wind rushing past and the hiss of tires at the edge of physics. For years, critics said electric cars could never match the drama of combustion hypercars. They said they'd be boring. The Rimac Nevera R proved them wrong. When you're pinned back by almost 2,000 horsepower, watching the speedometer climb faster than your mind can process, you don't miss the noise, you're too busy trying to remember how to breathe. This was more than just a test day. It was a turning point. A message to every manufacturer on the planet that the future of performance had arrived. In one day, one car had claimed 24 world records and redefined what was possible. The crown belonged to Croatia now, to the company that refused to accept limits, to the machine that proved silence can be louder than thunder. As the sun set, the car rolled quietly back into the pit lane. No smoke, no fuel smell, just cooling motors and stunned silence. And somewhere, rival engineers watched, already asking themselves the same question: who dares to try and beat this? Years from now, people will look back on this day the way they talk about the greatest moments in motorsport history. They'll remember not just the speed, but the fact that it came from a small company with a dream bigger than anyone thought possible. The Nevera R didn't just chase history, it became it. If you believe in chasing the impossible, you've just found your tribe. This is the story of the car that broke limits, broke records, and changed the future of speed forever. In the days after the run, the footage spread like wildfire. Social media timelines were flooded with clips of the Nevera R blasting down the track, the timing boards flickering with numbers so quick they almost looked fake. People replayed them over and over, not because they didn't believe, but because they couldn't quite process what they were seeing. Car forums lit up with heated debates. Could any combustion hypercar ever touch this? Could Bugatti or Koenigsegg respond? Was this the end of an era? Some defended tradition, insisting that true performance still belonged to roaring V12s and quad-turbo W16s. Others, even the most loyal petrolheads, admitted that what they had just seen was something they'd never thought possible. It wasn't just about speed, it was about belief. A decade ago, Rimac was a name whispered only among hardcore enthusiasts. A tiny company from Croatia, surrounded by titans with decades of racing heritage and limitless budgets. Nobody gave them a real chance. But while the world doubted, they were building, designing, refining, waiting for their moment. And when it came, they didn't just meet expectations, they obliterated them. For young engineers, the Nevera R became more than a car. It became proof that the impossible was only a matter of perspective. It told small teams and lone inventors everywhere that you didn't need to be a giant to make a giant impact. You just needed to be relentless. Manufacturers around the globe watched in silence, then began quietly announcing plans for their next-generation electric hypercars. Suddenly, the race had shifted. No longer was it about the loudest exhaust or the biggest engine. It was about software precision, battery breakthroughs, and the art of turning electrons into raw, relentless acceleration. Mate Rimac summed it up perfectly: we didn't build this car to prove EVs can be as good as combustion cars. We built it to show they can be better. And better it was. Faster. More precise. More controlled. The Nevera R didn't arrive politely, it stormed in, tore through 24 world records and left the world scrambling to catch up. Its run wasn't just a milestone, it was a warning shot. The era of electric dominance had begun. Years from now, collectors will speak of it with the same reverence reserved for the McLaren F1 or the Ferrari F40. Auction houses will see bidding wars not just for the car, but for the piece of history it represents. And somewhere, a teenager who saw that run on their phone will be sketching their own dream machine, determined to be the one to push the limits next. The Rimac Nevera R didn't just break records. It broke the boundaries of what we thought was possible, and in doing so, it became immortal. The sun hung low over the track, casting long shadows across the tarmac. The Rimac Nevera R sat still now, its glossy carbon shell catching the last golden rays of the day. The air was quiet, no roaring exhaust, no smell of fuel, just the faint ticking of cooling components after hours of relentless performance. The driver stepped away, helmet in hand, taking one last look at the machine. Behind them, the scoreboard still glowed with the day's impossible numbers. 24 new world records. 24 moments where the Nevera R had not just won, but completely rewritten the standard. Cameras continued to click. Engineers stood around in quiet pride, some smiling, others still in awe. Across the world, clips of the run were already racking up millions of views. People who had never cared about cars before were watching, wide-eyed, as a silent hypercar made everything they thought they knew about speed feel outdated. Somewhere, deep inside other manufacturers' design studios, teams were working late into the night. Notes were scribbled, designs tweaked, strategies rewritten. The bar had been raised so high that catching up would take years. And Rimac? They weren't celebrating for long, they were already thinking about the next chapter. The Nevera R was more than a machine. It was a declaration of what happens when you refuse to accept limits. It stood as living proof that the future doesn't just arrive quietly, it can arrive with a shockwave that shakes the entire industry. As the last light dipped below the horizon, the Nevera R was rolled back into its trailer. The track returned to silence, but it wasn't the same as before. Now, that silence carried the echo of a day that would be remembered for decades, a day when a car from a small country stunned the world and claimed its place in history. And somewhere, perhaps in another garage halfway across the world, someone watched that footage and whispered to themselves, "If they can do it, maybe I can too." Because that's what legends do. They don't just break records. They inspire revolutions. And just when people thought they'd seen everything, Mazda introduced a twist that no one saw coming. A commitment to blending classic craftsmanship with the latest tech in ways that felt seamless rather than forced. While some automakers were chasing futuristic designs that looked more like concept art than real cars, Mazda was refining its language of motion, making every line and curve feel purposeful. The driving experience remained the brand's crown jewel, with steering so precise and suspension tuning so balanced that even a short grocery run felt like a spirited drive. Inside, materials felt more premium than ever, rivaling luxury brands without adopting their intimidating price tags. Infotainment systems became quicker, cleaner, and smarter, integrating technology that made sense for real drivers, not just tech enthusiasts. The subtle hum of their engines, the confident way the car hugged corners, the way the cabin seemed to anticipate your needs, it all worked together to create something deeply human in a world racing toward automation. As news of these changes spread, automotive journalists began to notice something unusual. Mazda wasn't trying to dominate the market by sheer volume or the loudest marketing campaigns. Instead, they were building loyalty through emotional connection, something that can't be manufactured overnight. Owners weren't just talking about horsepower figures or safety ratings, they were talking about how their car made them feel. That emotional bond was worth more than any ad campaign. Even in markets crowded with aggressive competitors, Mazda's 2026 lineup stood out as a reminder that innovation doesn't have to mean losing your soul. It proved that driving can still be about passion, not just practicality. And for those who had been waiting for an automaker to strike that perfect balance between modern technology and timeless driving enjoyment, Mazda had just delivered the answer. The 2026 Mazda lineup doesn't just stop at impressive design and innovative features, it goes deeper into redefining what driving means for the modern era. The brand has fine-tuned every aspect of the ownership experience, ensuring that it's not only about the thrill behind the wheel but also about how you connect with your car in everyday life. From the moment you unlock a Mazda, there's an intentional sense of sophistication, a visual and tactile cue that you're about to experience something crafted with passion. Even the smallest details, like the reassuring weight of the steering wheel, the precise stitching in the seats, and the gentle illumination of the cabin at night, tell a story of dedication. Mazda understands that cars are deeply personal possessions. They carry our memories, our journeys, our emotions. That's why their 2026 lineup is engineered to be more than just transportation. It's designed to be part of your lifestyle, almost like a trusted companion that evolves with you. What sets Mazda apart in 2026 is how they've seamlessly blended human-centered engineering with technology that feels natural rather than overwhelming. Instead of cramming in every flashy gadget possible, Mazda's approach is more restrained and purposeful. Each piece of tech serves a clear purpose, improving safety, comfort, or performance without becoming a distraction. Their latest AI-assisted driving systems work quietly in the background, adapting to your driving style rather than forcing you to adapt to the car. Whether it's adjusting suspension damping based on road conditions in real time or subtly correcting steering inputs to keep you on track during sudden maneuvers, these systems feel like a silent co-pilot rather than a controlling machine. It's the difference between a car that drives you and a car that helps you drive better. The way Mazda tunes its engines and transmissions also reflects this philosophy. Even in the era of electrification, Mazda continues to craft driving dynamics that feel alive and connected. Their electric models, while whisper quiet, still manage to deliver the kind of immediate throttle response and balanced chassis dynamics that enthusiasts crave. The regenerative braking systems have been fine-tuned to feel more like natural engine braking, eliminating the artificial, grabby sensation found in many EVs. Meanwhile, their gasoline and hybrid powertrains still carry the signature zoom-zoom spirit, responsive, linear, and deeply satisfying to drive. Mazda knows that electrification doesn't have to mean the end of driving joy, it just means reimagining it for a new era. Beyond performance, the 2026 Mazda range redefines the idea of luxury, not in the traditional sense of excessive materials and overly complex gadgets, but in the way it makes you feel. This is emotional luxury, the feeling of being understood by your car, of being surrounded by beauty and quality without it screaming for attention. Every surface you touch feels premium, yet there's a minimalism to the design that keeps the cabin serene and uncluttered. The infotainment system is fluid and responsive, but it never overwhelms the driver with needless complexity. Voice commands feel natural, displays adapt intuitively to the driving environment, and the entire interface is built to keep your eyes on the road and your mind at ease. Mazda also continues to lead with safety, but they approach it differently from many automakers. Instead of simply loading their cars with as many driver aids as possible, they focus on the harmony between active safety technology and driver confidence. Systems like adaptive cruise control, lane centering, and blind spot monitoring don't intrude unless necessary. They're tuned to be as invisible as possible until the exact moment you need them. This approach preserves driver engagement while providing an extra layer of reassurance, making long journeys more relaxing without disconnecting you from the road. What truly seals Mazda's 2026 success is how each model feels like a natural extension of the brand's soul. Whether you're behind the wheel of their smallest crossover or their flagship electric sedan, there's a consistent DNA: sharp handling, thoughtful interiors, and a sense that the car was built by people who love driving. This consistency means that no matter which Mazda you choose, you're getting a distilled version of everything the company stands for: craftsmanship, emotion, and the joy of movement. It's why Mazda doesn't just attract customers, it creates lifelong fans. And so, the Lamborghini story continued to unfold. Not just as a brand, but as a movement. Every new model felt less like a simple release and more like an event that the entire automotive world paused to witness. Dealerships didn't just display cars, they showcased dreams wrapped in carbon fiber and sculpted metal. And every delivery wasn't merely a handover of keys, it was the beginning of someone's lifelong obsession. Behind the scenes, Lamborghini engineers continued to push their boundaries. Wind tunnels roared day and night, testing every millimeter of aerodynamics, while design studios became temples of creativity, where lines were drawn and erased until they felt alive. Every nut, every bolt, every software line of code went through endless iterations, because good enough had never been a part of Lamborghini's DNA. Collectors knew this too. They didn't just see Lamborghinis as cars, they saw them as rolling works of art, with the rarest models fetching eye-watering prices at auctions. But even among these elite, there was something almost childlike, an unshakable excitement when they pressed the start button and felt the growl of the engine reverberate through their chest. That sound wasn't just mechanical, it was emotional, primal, and timeless. Meanwhile, Lamborghini's digital presence exploded. Fans across the globe could explore the newest models in virtual reality, race them in hyperrealistic simulators, and even customize them in 3D from their phones. It didn't matter if you were in Italy, Japan, the UAE, or Brazil, Lamborghini reached you wherever you were, drawing you into its universe. But what truly set Lamborghini apart wasn't just its relentless innovation or unmistakable design, it was its ability to stir the soul. It didn't matter if you were a billionaire behind the wheel or a teenager with posters on your bedroom wall. Lamborghini gave you permission to dream, to believe in a reality that was louder, faster, and bolder than anything else on the road. And the legend, it was far from over. And so, as the story of the 2025 Honda XADV 750 in Italy continues to capture the imagination of riders across the globe, one thing is certain: this isn't just a scooter, it's a statement. A statement that riding can be both practical and adventurous, stylish and rugged, city-friendly yet wild at heart. From the bustling streets of Rome to the winding roads of the Amalfi Coast, the XADV 750 has proven that it's more than capable of being a true companion for any journey. It's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about making every ride an unforgettable experience. Italy's embrace of the XADV 750 isn't just hype, it's a reflection of a machine that perfectly blends design, technology, and performance into one irresistible package. And now, the rest of the world is watching, wondering, could this be the adventure scooter that changes the way we think about two-wheel travel forever? Here's the thing: this story doesn't end here. The next chapter is written by you. If you've been inspired by the power, style, and versatility of the Honda XADV 750, maybe it's time to rethink what's possible on two wheels. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of the 2025 Honda XADV 750, hit that like button, subscribe to Automotive, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive into groundbreaking machines from around the world. Your support keeps us exploring, researching, and bringing you the most exciting automotive stories out there. And remember, the adventure is always waiting. You just need the right machine to begin. And so, the story of the 2025 Honda XADV 750 is more than just the tale of a motorcycle scooter hybrid. It's about redefining the rules, breaking limits, and proving that adventure has no boundaries. From the bustling streets of Rome to the winding passes of the Dolomites, it's built to conquer every terrain and every moment in between. This is not just a machine, it's a statement. A declaration that you're ready to explore, ready to push further, and ready to feel alive every single day. So, what about you? Are you ready to leave the ordinary behind? Are you ready to ride into your own story of freedom, speed, and adventure? Here at Automotive, we bring you the most exciting machines, the boldest designs, and the stories that fuel your passion for motion. If you've enjoyed this ride with us, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our next journey. And don't just watch, join the conversation. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you take the 2025 Honda XADV 750 for a spin through the city, or a climb into the mountains? Because here, we don't just talk about rides, we live them. And so, the 2025 Honda XADV 750 isn't just another scooter on the streets of Italy, it's a revolution on two wheels. A machine that dares to be different, breaking every boundary between urban commuting and weekend adventure. With its rugged design, advanced tech, and unshakable Honda reliability, it's no wonder it's become the hottest ride, buzzing through Italian cities and tearing up the countryside. But here's the thing: the XADV isn't just about specs, performance, or style. It's about a feeling. That rush of freedom when you twist the throttle. That sense of power when you take on a winding coastal road. That confidence when the city traffic melts away, and it's just you, the bike, and the open road ahead. If this scooter has already taken Italy by storm, The question is, where will it go next? Could it dominate in your country? Could you be the next rider to experience the thrill? If you love this deep dive into the 2025 Honda XADV 750, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to Automotive, and ring the bell icon so you never miss the latest on the world's most exciting rides. Your turn. What's the most unforgettable bike you've ever ridden? Drop your answer in the comments, we might just feature it in our next video. This is Automotive, bringing you the machines, the stories, and the thrill of the ride. Until next time, keep exploring, keep riding, and keep the engine of your dreams running.